Welcome back, everyone. Fantastic to have you around. We are now here to be able to hear about pharmaceutical solutions with connected packaging. We just heard from Ali Azar, so it was fantastic to hear his profound insights, his expertise on different types of QR codes. If you missed it, don't worry. All the sessions have been recorded, so you will be able to catch up with that later on YouTube or be able to hear it on podcast. This is a live event. This is our last session for today. It is, as I say, a live event, which means you can ask questions in the Q&A box. We've had a very interactive audience so far, so I'm sure we'll have the same again. So, as I say, this is the last session of day one. Here we're going to be talking about connected solutions in pharmaceuticals. And we're going to be hearing from Sriman Banerjee, Head of Packaging Development at Takeda Pharmaceuticals, and Ryan Kiley, Director of Market Development at ePac Flexible Packaging. So we have fantastic information here coming from Takeda's reputation from a pharmaceutical industry leader. He will be providing us with valuable insights into the company's sustainable initiatives, the integration of innovation in packaging development, and even the potential of connected package technologies in achieving sustainability goals. Ryan is going to be talking not only about serialized secure QR codes, which we've just heard a little bit about, but hopefully we're well up to speed on that. But Ryan is also going to be telling us about AIPAC Connect and a fantastic recent case study in the pharma space. So without further ado, hello to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us. A special thank you, I think, to Ryan, because I think you've got the earliest slot. What time is it with you right now, Ryan?
Oh, it's just before 7 on the day after the, our country's birthday. So, not much going on last night from the 4th of July.
Well done, and thank you for joining. Sriman, thank you so much for being here with us today. What time is it with you?
So it's same as Ryan's, just before 7 a.m. in the morning.
So you're both early birds today.
Absolutely.
Brilliant stuff. So just as I've done with all the other panelists and speakers today, I've just asked for a quick interesting fact that you can share about yourself before we get into the content. Ryan, you've laughed, so I'm assuming you're ready with something that not maybe many people know about you. An interesting fact. Have you anything you can share with us?
Sure. It would surprise many to hear that I was the world's first and only computer science major and theater minor in RIT's history here in Rochester, New York. So it was a weird homegrown curriculum for the we called it a non-major concentration at RIT. But yeah, I mean, my first job out of college was at IBM. But on the weekends, I would work at a place called the Spaghetti Warehouse doing dinner theater.
That is a great combination. That is the weirdest combo. Love that, Ryan. Thank you for sharing. Sriman, what can you tell us?
So I would say that I had the opportunity to visit 35 plus countries, whether it's on business or on personal, and learn about new cultures, meeting new people, and understanding more about the world.
Brilliant. Fantastic. I need to count mine. 35. That sounds brilliant. So let's get into some of this. So Takeda Pharmaceuticals recognized as a leader in the pharma industry. Maybe just tell us a little bit around the initiatives in terms of sustainability, how you're integrating innovation into packaging. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So at Takeda, we believe sustainability is important and one of our key pillars of planet. And within that, we have several initiatives on, I would say, on carbon footprint, net carbon zero, and other initiatives surrounding it, which includes water, waste, etc. Particularly coming to packaging, we have initiative in terms of e-leaflet, as well as integrating some of the smart packaging elements to reduce our carbon footprint, to eliminate waste, and to be much more sustainable. So just to give an example of e-leaflets, we have been partnering with our peer companies globally on this initiative to implement e-leaflets. Japan is one of the first countries in the world which has a legislation which has eliminated paper leaflets in the space of drug products, which is all drug products in Japan are now in an e-leaflet format or a connected packaging format, where you scan the barcode and it directly takes you to the web page which has the e-leaflet for the product. This obviously has reduced the amount of paper use and also therefore the amount of trees, etc., which are used for this purpose.
Yeah, so that's really interesting, because that's where we can see innovation and sustainability working together. So, of course, innovation being able to get rid of perhaps so much paper, as you're talking about. And I think everybody will probably agree with me that when you open your medicine or whatever it might be, that stupid little piece of paper gets shoved to the bottom of the box as you shove the thing back in, or it goes into the bin and gets lost. So here's a fantastic way to be able to save paper, but also have better communication. Because obviously, if you have lost that piece of paper, you've now lost the important detail about the medication and the instructions and whatever else might be included on that. So that's really, really interesting. Did you say that's only in one country at the moment?
So Japan, by legislation, has already moved forward in this direction, which are working towards it, which includes Singapore, Malaysia, several countries in the Middle East. There are several pilots happening in Europe with hospital packs and so on.
Great, great. So this is going to, I would have thought, move across quite a lot of other countries. Is there any success stories? Is there any success rate? Do you have any stats in terms of people scanning those QR codes?
So it's consistent with the use of, I would say, current paper leaflets, which we see in the industry in terms of people getting into the information and typical information surrounding, the use of the medicine, as well as, for example, typically we also see, people who are, or rather pregnant women, going and seeing whether the medicine is safe for them and so on and so forth, right? So, it's consistent with what we see in the industry for the paper leaflet.
Yeah, definitely. How do you envisage? So that's a great example, and Ryan's going to tell us about another fantastic example. How do you envisage this kind of going forward? Any more kind of ways to enhance patient safety, improve patient experiences?
Yes, so that's where smart packaging comes into play, which is a seamless integration of digital with the packaging, which takes it to the next level. Because mind you, the first level which is there in any smart packaging is whether it's the QR code or the barcode which is used to scan. And then we move, in the level of hierarchy into other technologies, which could be NFC, which could be Bluetooth, and so on and so forth, printed electronics, etc. Right? So that's where the new age technologies come into play in terms of integrating packaging with digital, and therefore offering several features. Now, smart packaging, typically in the pharma industry, is being and has been used for clinical studies, which is, I would say, again, unique to the pharma space, where you need to do clinical studies in terms of qualifying your safety, efficacy of your drug product. And that takes several years to conduct the study. And digital has found its niche space, I would say, in that area, where it enables clean transmission of data in terms of recording the use, as well as some other features, including sending alerts, messages, and a two-way communication in that space.
Yeah, definitely. So much can happen. So we've heard about some really interesting e-leaflet advancements. Ryan, tell us about your case study. There's something really nice that you've been working on. It's all to do with cannabis. Tell us more.
Yeah. And thank you. And thanks both of you for, being here and including me in this conversation. It's, it's a lot of fun to talk about the way packaging can do so much more than just hold a product and keep it fresh. Here at ePac, if you've not heard of us, we're a full service printing and converting outfit. We've got 26 manufacturing locations around the world, from Australia and Ghana to Poland and France and around North America. And we started in 2016, so we're not an old company, and we started with the mission to help our small and medium business customers grow. And one thing that they've done is grown. So little companies are now big companies. Big companies are using us for all manner of flexible packaging needs. So my job here is to bring technology to the pouch, whether that be through things like design services, or in the case we're talking about today, the notion of connected packaging. And as you just heard, connected packaging can take a lot of forms. You've heard smart packaging, you've heard intelligent packaging, connected packaging. What does it all mean? And some of these things are sensors that can predict whether a product is going to be safe to use down the line. And some of these things are consumer engagement devices that are designed to either provide information or, in some other way, exchange details between a consumer and a brand. What we've done, to get specifically to your question, with our platform, ePac Connect, we're able to put essentially a digital identity or a license plate on every single pouch. Each pouch is individually addressable and recognizable throughout various stages of its life. And one of those stages could be in the supply chain. So in the supply chain, a product makes it into a warehouse and gets fulfilled against an order. We can help a company understand that particular pouch, that particular product, not that SKU, not chocolate, but that pouch has been fulfilled against a very particular order. If you get down the supply chain, like once you're in the consumer's hands, that same exact technology can serve as a medium for marketing and communications with consumers. Dare I say, even gamification with the consumer, Jay. Where absolutely. So in this case, we're working with a pilot program with the Swiss government. So Switzerland is going forward with a series of city-based limited pilot licenses for adult use recreational cannabis. And so,
okay, I found this on the web for a series of city-based limited pilot license.
Hold on. I believe Siri just thought I was speaking with her.
She wanted to get involved in the
I
web.
understand.
Shut up, Siri.
So we've got your slides. Here we go. We'll
very
share
good.
for you.
Yeah, and the slides, the slides are pretty boring, but there's a couple of cities and soon to be several more that are engaged in adult use cannabis pilots in Switzerland. And so they asked us to help bring together the manufacturer, the retailer, and various government entities into the the same ecosystem. All right. So with a unique license plate on every single pouch, we can, for the consumer, communicate kind of like the leaflet conversation you were just having, communicate the unique chemical properties of the product. In the US, we have something called a certificate of analysis associated with cannabis and hemp products. And it basically breaks down what the percentage of THC and other cannabinoids are inside of the product. And they're different. If you grow cannabis in greenhouse 1, 2, and 3, they'll have different properties. And those unique properties need to be communicated to the end user. And one very easy way we can do this is the license plate on the pouch refers to the particular batch of product created. And you can see how this could work in quite a number of different markets aside from cannabis. Well, number 2, it works for inventory control. So this product was sold at this particular pharmacy at this time. Number 3, it works with the healthcare system of Switzerland to register that product against the licensed buyer. Now, there are restrictions in Switzerland as to how much you can buy in a given period. Let's say it's 100 grams a month. Well, that product is now registered against that license holder inside of the Swiss healthcare system. And then if the unthinkable happens and a pallet of illegally obtained product or stolen product, or a child is found with the product on hand, law enforcement can scan that very same pouch and determine its entire history, where it was produced, where it was sold, to whom it was sold, and hopefully get to the bottom of what's going on there. All created and made possible through the power of digital printing and connected packaging.
Fantastic. So this is really being able to connect, as you say, those 3 things together. So, this is obviously looking at cannabis, but this could be looking at any type of medicine where you want to ensure the doctor knows, how much they have consumed, how much they've been consuming. The pharmacy obviously then has the ability to be able to have some measurement in terms of how much they're selling and to whom. And law enforcement, not always necessary, but certainly when we're talking about this. So do you feel that does the client feel that this campaign at the moment, this project that they're doing is working well? Have you any success metric?
Well, the metric side is difficult, although recreational cannabis use in Switzerland is extremely popular. And so the system is working flawlessly. We're upgrading. For example, I mentioned the fact that 2 different bags, 2 different pieces could have different chemical compositions. Well, they could also have different prices, but they could be the same thing. So just use chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. They could have multiple pouches of chocolate from different batches in their manufacturing, and they could have different properties, and they could even have different prices. So we're trying to solve a problem now, which is done, quite simple actually, where it's the same UPC, right? It's the same GS1 barcode for the point of sale system, but the QR code that's on that pouch has been associated with a set of data points. And one of them is the chemical composition of the product. So when they are checking out, they're accurately, so it's not just the chocolate, it's the chocolate from this particular batch and lot, and correctly debiting that piece from inventory. So that in connection with the expansion of the pilot programs across larger and larger metropolitan areas inside of Switzerland, It really is quite something. You think about the law enforcement angle, and that's a very Swiss thing to do, right? They connect everybody, and it is a centralized healthcare system, centralized law enforcement, centralized. So their IT requirements are relatively easy to meet and to work with. But any subset of that in any country for any pharmaceutical would be just as doable. I think of things like the connected packaging integrating with your health app on your phone, and teaching your phone about the medication that you're taking, as opposed to the current system, which is you kind of Google what your what your prescription is, and then you associate it to your profile inside of an iPhone. But that code could very easily be used to identify not just the type of medicine or that you're taking, but also very specifically that medicine came from that lot and that batch. Because heaven forbid there's a problem. What if there's a recall and your pills are no longer fit for consumption? Well, all these things connected together can tell you and protect you, inform you that there's potentially a problem.
Yeah,
Not to mention drug interaction and side effects and things.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to the law enforcement, we've got a question from the audience, and I don't know the answer here. Maybe you will. What if I bought some cannabis for my grandmother? The QR code will be linked to her ID, but I would be the one carrying it. Would that implicate some troubles for me, legally wise?
Well, that'd be up to the Swiss government. I can tell from speaking with them about this project that they're not looking to ensure every bag is in the hands of exactly whom it was sold to. What they're looking to do is follow up when there's trouble. Okay, so if there is an infraction or traffic stop or a recovery of stolen product, they want to be able to trace that back. The sense is they don't care very much about you holding the bag for your grandmother.
Yeah, indeed. One instant. Okay, so that really kind of talks about the current attitude of the government towards this. Have there been any kind of pushbacks from them at all, or have they been able to access some data? Are they interested in the data?
They are. They're holding the retailers to account for the consumption limits on a per person basis or per license basis. That's probably where most of the conversations and real actionable intelligence is coming from. But now keep in mind, we happen to be using a QR code for this. The QR code is also scannable by the end user. So the consumer scans, and instead of being presented with this healthcare and law enforcement sort of database interaction, it's plain old consumer engagement. Mm-hmm. So the customer scans, they learn a little bit about the product. Maybe that product has a connection to the community. Maybe they donate to mental health services. Maybe there's a button that helps them find a dispensary closer to their house or their place of business. So this is a multi-purpose connected packaging engagement, multi-purpose. Not only is it good for the healthcare, the retailer, law enforcement, but it's just a QR code, right? So at the end of the day, a consumer can scan that and get some benefit. Maybe there's an exchange of information. Maybe I'm signing up for a newsletter or following somebody on Instagram, but the brand gets the benefit of an engagement platform for their consumers. Now, I'm sure we're a diverse crowd on the webinar here, but in the U.S., where legal cannabis has been around for a while, but is also very, very fractured on a state-by-state basis from a regulatory standpoint, loyalty is huge. It's one of the biggest problems because you can walk into any dispensary in any recreationally legal state, and you can get peach gummies, 10 milligram peach gummies. Enjoy. So where's the brand loyalty there? So creating the connective tissue between the consumer and the brand is becoming more and more and more important to these manufacturers.
Yeah, definitely, and therefore it becomes almost like a consumer product more than a pharma product almost.
Yeah, and I just got back. I was in Frankfurt, Germany for the Medical Cannabis in Europe conference. And, we're talking a lot about what to do, when, these studies come back and governments loosen up a little bit and become more open to the honest to goodness medical benefits of this product, this category of products, whether it's CBD, THC based stuff or whatever. But one of the things that they are just catching up with now is the power that the packaging can provide in terms of education and enforcement, supply chain management, and regulatory compliance.
Sriman, you're head of development, head of packaging development. So you're at the forefront of technology advancements in the pharma sector. What are your thoughts around this particular project that Brian's describing? Can you see this kind of moving forward in other places that you're working in at the moment?
So thanks, Ryan, for the great example. And obviously, I mean, even in the pharmaceutical industry, we use products which require such type of controls. And a simple example which Ryan would appreciate even in the US would be pseudoephedrine, which is a cold and flu, I would say, medicine, but it's again used very as a very controlled measure. And even today in the US, you would have to buy a packet or to buy, I would say 12 tablets, you would have to show your driving license, which gets registered in the pharmacy, and you get a pack, right? And the max you can.
And if I may interrupt, but
Sure.
Why? Why do you have to do that? And it's because people make crystal meth out of it.
Yes.
They make methamphetamine from that as an ingredient. So a house across the street could explode because they have a meth factory. And by the way, that happens far too often. But that's why they have to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can't buy at any given time more than 2 packs, because even if you try to buy it from different pharmacies, once it registers you twice for the day, it automatically locks you out. So you can't go to a third pharmacy and then try your to buy one, right? So I mean, in many of these places, technologies which Ryan mentioned can happen seamlessly and in a much more integrated fashion. So there are opportunities of these things even in the pharmaceutical sector, as and when some of these technologies evolve and can be integrated.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't know, Ryan, beyond pharma, can you see this kind of data tracking that we're talking about? Because there's always kind of this resistance in terms of what can be shared, what data tracking, etc. Can you see this type of data tracking being adopted in other industries? Is it relevant?
Well, I mean, I'm in marketing. So yes, unequivocally, yes. There is a great case study out there about an augmented reality product. There's a wine varietal. It's called 19 Crimes out of Australia. I'm sure a lot of folks on the call are familiar with it. But I've been involved with them over time. I did some AR projects. What they have, if you're unfamiliar, is they have a image recognition app that fires off an augmented reality experience based on their wine label. And that wine label, it's called 19 Crimes, and it's based, the idea behind it is that there were 19 crimes that would have gotten you committed to the penal colony of Australia from jolly old England. And so you point your phone at the wine label, and the person on it comes to life. And it's evolved over the years. So now it's like Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart, but it used to be just some random people. And wine sales increased 168% year over year. Wow. Based on largely based on, I think it's pretty safe to attribute it to that experience. But that's not where the value lies, Jenny. The value, a liquor distributor selling wine only knows the distributors that they sell to. Like, so I make wine, I sell to a distributor. Distributor does business with local businesses and restaurants and whatnot. The real value that 19 Crimes got out of that was the geolocation of their consumers. Now they know exactly where people are enjoying their product. And so we as marketers can use that data to, just simply draw zip code maps and do targeted online advertising. We could put up a billboard. We could send coupons in the mail in a more traditional kind of direct marketing sort of initiative. But the data is indeed where the value lies. And so that, that's one of the things I try to do for our brands is educate them on level 1, 2, and 3, the first steps towards using data to their advantage.
Yeah, most definitely. If you can understand where your consumers are, where, what it is that they like, what it is that they don't like, apart from, what medication do they consume. That's really important information in terms of being a marketeer, being a brand, trying to develop something that your audience will like. We've got a question from the audience, and of course it's the standard one, I suppose. Is this data GDPR compliant?
It is, yeah. So we're up in the Amazon cloud, whereas we use a company called ScanTrust, who is a global provider of connected packaging solutions. Companies, well, I probably can't mention the companies, but very, very large CPG and other companies, and they are indeed GDPR compliant. In fact, there's an extra step to be California compliant. That's even a little trickier. But yes, indeed.
Great. Of course, it's always the question that's there. Sriman, what about other kind of case studies or other applications that you've seen of connected packaging in or outside the pharma industry? Anything that's caught your eye recently?
So couple of things, and before I answer your question, Jenny, going back to something which you mentioned about data previously, and data is very sensitive, and people are getting more and more sensitive in terms of what are companies going to do with the data privacy, impact on other aspects of life, which could be insurance and other areas as well, right? So I mean, it's a very sensitive subject for now, and it's important that we mature up to understand what data is going to be used for, and therefore collect only what is relevant for the purpose, right? So that's one piece which I would like to share here. Now, coming back to your question, so what we are seeing, I would say, in the industry as trends or new things coming up are a couple of things, right? So if you take a step back, historically, many of these technologies was expensive or cost prohibitive in some form. However, what we are seeing it is with mass production and usage across platforms in the industry, economies of scale. Many of these technologies have now become in the affordable range, which means we will see more of it, being rolled out, whether it's by CPG companies, pharmaceuticals, or otherwise as well, right? Based on use cases, something which even Ryan mentioned a few minutes back. So
Yeah.
we did see this a lot, for example, for anti-counterfeit measures, where again, in the pharmaceutical industry, we see a lot of products which are, counterfeited in many parts of the world. And that's where some of these smart technologies integration helps in anti-counterfeit. Now, if we take a step up, we see also this being integrated in luxury products, where again, I mean, many of these things which are sold at a very high price, if and again, subject to counterfeits, etc., there is an opportunity for these technologies, and we see it more and more happening in that space as well. So there is a movement in this direction, and most of it, as I mentioned, is on use basis.
This is a really great point.
Go for it, Ryan. No,
But-
just, go on.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean the notion of counterfeiting, and when we
Yeah.
think about it in terms of pharmaceuticals, counterfeiting is deadly, right? You get something that's laced with fentanyl, and that's it, game over. The codes that we use are not just uniquely identifiable because they've got a serialization aspect to them, but they're also uniquely identifiable as being produced by ePac. So I could tell you specifically which printer in which country, in which plant that individual pouch was printed on. And maybe more importantly, to the point there, I could tell you if it wasn't.
Yeah.
So there are industries in the US, I don't want to keep going back to cannabis and whatever, but in the CBD world, CBD is universally legal in the United States. So it can be sold in everything from gas stations to grocery stores. And you're very likely to see some of the less reputable retail locations like petrol stations, where you've got Skittles with an S next to Skittles with a Z next to Skittles with a Q. And one of them is a legitimate business and the other two are knockoffs. And when you're consuming these things, I think it's important to know that it's from a bona fide legitimate provider. And that is a great value proposition for connected packaging.
Yeah, and I think as well, it really kind of goes back to what the previous speaker was talking about. So Ali from Tetra Pak was talking about serialization, serialized QR codes, and I think authentication, which is what we're talking about, being able to identify whether this is a genuine product or not, is a really big part of connected packaging. And I think it's important that we think about the breadth that connected packaging can bring, and I'm hoping we're bringing out a lot of case studies and a lot of use cases throughout the summit. So we've talked about marketing campaigns and questionnaires and quizzes and gamification, and that's all the fun stuff that I think people can really understand from a marketing perspective. There's the loyalty programs, and Ryan, you touched on that with cannabis and without. Of course, loyalty is a big thing. It's something I mentioned in my opening statements as well. With the rise of inflation, consumers will prefer when the pennies are getting pinched to go with a white label brand. So that can happen both in medicine, can happen in clothing, can happen in food and drink. So right across the board. So if you've got a loyalty program in place, which you can access through the connected packaging from the QR code, then of course that can help you to combat that. But then, when we start talking about authentication of genuine product, especially if we're talking about medicine, then that's, very important, as you say, can be a life or death matter. And, there's been a huge problem with counterfeit baby milk in China, which again, Nestle and other brands, not to just name them, lots of brands had huge problems. It's just that their one was the one that was massively in the news. But, huge problems in terms of being able to have genuine product getting into the hands of consumers. And a great use case study there in terms of connected packaging being able to support that. So beyond the standard. Any other kind of use cases, Ryan or Sriman, that we can talk about in terms of connected packaging?
Well, I've got 100 of them. So, how much time you got?
Well, maybe I think geolocation is a great one. Maybe there's something there in terms of logistics, transport, export.
From my standpoint, it's always an epiphany for the brands when I give them a demonstration of what geolocation can do for them. They're like, holy, can I turn this off? I said, well, yes. There's quite often a reference back to an unfortunate incident where a fitness app was tracking somebody's running schedule, and it happened to be on the phones of a lot of soldiers at a base in a foreign country. And the data was publicly accessible, and it was used to terrible effect with an ambush. Things have gotten a lot better since. That was 15 years ago. Things have gotten certainly a lot better in terms of regulatory compliance and GDPR that you mentioned. But customers still generally leave on their geolocation settings on their phone. Me personally, I have it ask me every time, and it annoys me to no end that every single time Google is asking me when I search for something, whether or not it can use my location in the search results. But that data is being collected, and it is being collected by every app on your phone. And once we come to peace with that, we can choose to take advantage of it. And even small brands that are noticing that. So there's a popcorn company that we do business with, and they have it's the power of digital packaging production. What they have is they have a popcorn bag that's dedicated to every single one of the individual schools in their district. So they have a primary school and middle school, high school, and the artwork on the bag is specific to the children. They made it themselves. And those bags are lined up in the grocery store, and each one of them, the Washington and Jefferson and Hamilton high schools, right? They donate specifically to that school based on that bag purchase. So you buy the bag of popcorn, even though it's all the same popcorn. You buy the bag of popcorn that's associated with your child's school district or particular school, and X number of dollars go to it. But the company uses connected packaging in order to figure out what schools they're going to go and market to. So if Washington High School has a significant consumption at the home level, but not at the school, then they'll try to get into the vending machines in the school. And so they're creatively using even small scale. We're not talking about millions of scans here. They're using small scale data analytics to affect their marketing approach, budget, effort.
Yeah. Well, it made me think of the personalization, the most famous campaign, which is the Coke one, right? So share a Coke, name. It's the same thing. We all want to feel part of a team. That's human psychology. And so, all right, well, it's my school versus your school. Well, I'm going to buy. It's perfect. Great example of digital printers as well as connected packaging, right?
Well, Share a Coke was mass personalization. So they took the 100 most popular names or 1,000 most popular names over time, and then they printed the cans. We're talking about honest to God variable data production, where every single pouch can be completely different no matter what. One bad thing about Share a Coke was my friend, guy who worked for me at Ricoh in my last job, his name is Sufyan Abushanab. He never got a Coke.
No.
There's no Coke for Sufyan. Right? There's a Coke for Michael and Thomas, and every once in a while a Ryan, but mass personalization isn't VDP. If you send us a variable data job, every single pouch is absolutely different, and it doesn't cost us anything to do it that way. That's kind of the magic.
Really nice. Really nice. Yeah.
So, Jenny, I know we have been speaking more about, I would say, the patient consumer retail packs, but there is also a lot of opportunities, if you say, in supply chain shipment, etc. as well, right? And that's also a key element of, I would say, any business or any manufacturing process. And there again, there are a lot of use cases. For example, we use smart packaging for even temperature trapping, right? So the pharmaceutical industry, as you would appreciate, many of the products are shipped in cold chain because of the nature of the product to give the shelf life and stability. And that's where the temperature tracking using smart packaging comes into play, where you're able to track whether there has been any temperature exigencies or anything of that nature during your supply chain, which might pose a risk to the product. So I would say there are, opportunities beyond even the traditional patient retail consumer packs as well.
Yeah.
In many of these areas, which provide benefit in the space as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think there's so many different applications, and I just really wanted to try and make sure that we could talk about some of those case studies and really bring, not just through this session, but through all of this morning and tomorrow morning as well, different use cases, different ways that people can start thinking about how technology, how connected packaging can really change, make our lives easier, but also change the way we're doing things. And I think there's so much potential for that. Ryan or Sriman, have you any other cases that you want to share? Ryan's got hundreds.
and I feel like I've monopolized a little bit of our time here, so please, I'll defer.
No, sure, Ryan, if you have anything. Otherwise, I can share a couple of case studies as well, and futuristic examples in that place as well, right? Because it's a fine balance, Jenny and Ryan, in terms of what has been done, what is available, and what does the future look like. And I would say the future is, interesting in terms of as more and more people start using smart devices for whether it's information or whether it is tracking. Tracking can include many things, right? So, for example, for the food, they can track how much calories they are consuming. For pharmaceuticals, it may be, keeping a track of some of the medicines so that they can consume or take the medicines on time for better efficacy, etc. Right? So, I would say there is a host of futuristic applications which are, out there, and it's only a matter of time when we will see, the next generation, imbibing some of these things time to come. Because this is also, an aspect of generational, if I may say, in terms of engaging with smart devices, use of smart devices, and so on. So we will see a lot of things in this space, I would say, in the next, or rather in this decade itself, as we speak.
Definitely. Future. What do you think, Ryan?
It's just more, better, faster. From our standpoint, you can see the organizations that are embracing the connected nature of different products. I don't know if anybody uses an app to learn a new language, but my daughter does, and I try to look to the kids and see, what are they gravitating towards? What are the things that are changing their behaviors? And if Duolingo is emailing or texting my daughter or DMing her that she hasn't logged in 2 days and her streak of learning is about to expire, I can feel palpably her pull to go do that, and her wish to not disrupt the game.
Yeah.
Right. I know a lot of people on this call probably, that's what we're aiming for, right? Is to create that additional connectivity or that reptilian response to a product or a service. So I see companies getting better at that. I see them getting more aggressive with it. And one thing I'm really excited about is being able to bring that technology to smaller organizations. This notion of connected packaging and the cannabis packaging and the digital license plate and identity, that's something that would have been in Mondelez and in ExxonMobil, and those technologies were firewalled from the small and medium businesses. But now we can very simply bring that technology to everyday companies, somebody who makes popcorn or nuts or granola or cannabis or what have you. So that's the part I think as that technology begins to become more accessible and affordable for smaller and medium businesses, that it becomes more ubiquitous, more useful, more data, more, at least for us as a services provider, it gives us the opportunity to make the little guy feel like a big guy out in the world, and they can compete with absolutely anyone.
Yeah. I think that's great. It's the opportunity being opened up. But you said, started ePac looking after small customers. Those small customers grew, and obviously you guys are obviously growing with them. So that's really fantastic to allow all brands to be able to connect with their consumers, and that's what we're talking about, whether it be for reporting purposes, gamification purposes, authentication purposes. It's fantastic. We've got another. Right. Go on.
I mean, Bayer or GlaxoSmithKline, they could throw $1 million at an initiative and try to see if it works in order to create connectivity to customers or communicate more information by way of the packaging or in eliminating the leaflets. But the people that you are likely to do business with in the grocery store have been restricted from access to that kind of capability. Just there's the cost factor. So that's why that's the point there, is that I'm really excited to bring these kinds of technologies, even if it's the little guy. So there's I told you I've got 100 of them. There's a hops manufacturer in England. They make hops for home beer brewing, right? And one of the things that's important to beer brewers that I didn't realize is the chemical composition of the individual hops. So it could be the same varietal of hop, but it could be grown at different times of the year, and it could have different chemical properties, like more nitrogen or oxygen, whatever is inside of it. And they want the consumer to be able to differentiate bag to bag to bag what's in that particular bag of hops. And they make things in very small lots, like 50 bag lots. Mm-hmm. It's not 10,000 bags that have similar properties, it's 50. And so they wanted a way to communicate they didn't want to buy 50 bag increments of and then print on the bag what the chemical composition was. They wanted to buy 10,000 bags and then for every 50 change what the consumer experience was.
Yeah.
And this is easy. This is exactly what we do. It's sometimes hard to explain. When you try to explain what a Swiss Army knife does, you say it does whatever you want. And then the customer says, well, I don't have a whatever you want kind of problem. I have a specific problem. So you have to get into the customer conversation and determine what exactly they need, and then try to bend your technology around achieving it for them. And these little companies, and I don't mean that in a bad way, these amazing little companies that kind of help the world go round are just so much fun to interact with and encouraged to grow.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Actually, that's a beer hops case study in the almost, we could say, in the food industry, the beverage industry. Somebody just asked for an example, and there's plenty of examples in the food and drink industry that we've got access to, that we can support you with as well, to the person in the audience who's anonymous, but you know who you are. We've got plenty of different examples for the food and drink industry as well, so we can share those with you.
And in fact, Jenny, many of these things which we are speaking today coincidentally started with, I would say, the foods industry, with be it Kellogg's or Nestle, which implemented augmented reality as part of gamification, whether it's for the cereals or for the chocolate drinks, etc. So it started with that in terms of engagement with the consumer in some form. And then subsequently, it moved on to nutrition information. And today, it's also used for whether it's shelf life of the product, indicating that aspect of it, or even some of the other elements of supply chain, which I mentioned earlier, right? Because food is, again, a very critical aspect, how packaging supports food wastage. Right, and people many a times do not appreciate or are in that place where in the world we manufacture a lot of food products, and whether it's pure vegetables or fruits to processed foods as well, and how packaging supports in terms of the shelf life, the stability, as well as managing the wastage of the food. And that's where smart packaging comes into play, whether it's in the space of temperature control, whether it's in the space of shelf life indicators, and so on and so forth. Because in the retail, if you know that your shelf life of a certain product is coming close to expiry, then you have ways and means now to either offer it at a discount or have some means to have better use of that product rather than putting it to waste. Absolutely right, Ryan. Right. So I mean, there is now a lot of opportunities which smart packaging has opened up, which hitherto was not there if the product would have been just sitting on the shelf.
Definitely. So, dynamic pricing is a fantastic way to be able to use connected packaging to help to reduce waste as well, which helps us with sustainability, which helps us with the planet. So we're not, throwing so much in the bin that we don't need, that we've already spent a lot of time and carbon to produce. So, there's so many different applications of it. I think that brings us very nicely down and around and wraps us all up for today. So a massive thank you to you both, especially for getting up so early. Thank you very, very much. Some great insights, great case studies, and some great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I speak for you, but certainly mine.
Thank you. And a big thank you to the audience as well, and thank you for keeping with us. And this brings us, as I say, to the end of the first day of the 2-day virtual global connected packaging. Again, big appreciation to all of our panelists, especially those with us right now. I think we've had a fantastic day where we've learned about different sustainability initiatives. We've learned about paper bags. We've learned about ocean plastic. We've learned about the death of the barcode. We've learned about different types of QR codes, how that's moving, and actually how that's moving across different industries, especially food and drink, pharma and fashion that we've heard about today, but so many other different ways as well. So tomorrow, what have we got on? We've got so many different things. We kick off with a panel discussion on connected packaging with Amazon. We have also joining that discussion Danone, SIG, the Pack Hub. Then we'll also be having some individual sessions. Those individual sessions will include Kellogg, Garcia Carrion, Innoventure, Reed, Colgate and Palmolive. So there's going to be some really great discussions. There's going to be some food stuff in there for the person who was asking about food as well. So there's going to be some really great discussions. There's going to be some fantastic engagement sessions where we're going to be able to learn from experts, have some more great conversation and being able to really understand what's happening in the world of connected packaging and what you can do to change in terms of innovation and sustainability and how we can help you to reach your connected packaging goals. Thank you so much again to everyone, and we hope to see you tomorrow.
Cheers.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Jenny.